culture actually has a dual value. It has, of course, an intrinsic value. This is about our civilization, about our values, about our history, about our identity. But it also has a very significant economic value. We have statistics which clearly show that the cultural and creative sectors, they amount to 4.4% of the European gross domestic product. So 4.4% of our wealth is actually created by culture and creative sectors. And even more important, culture gives a job to 8.3 million people across Europe. We work with a global strategy adopted by the 28 or 27 at the time member states, which is called the European Agenda for Culture, which dates to 2007. It's the first strategy on culture ever, the first time the EU decided to put forward a European strategy. And we implement this strategy with work plans for culture for a period of 4 or 5 years. So now it focuses on 4 priorities: accessible and inclusive culture, cultural heritage, cultural and creative sectors, and cultural diversity, with another focus on external relations and mobility of artists. They want to base this even closer union of peoples on cultural diversity. And I think this is an important message because sometimes you hear people who fear that the EU will start harmonizing culture or create, even worse, a European culture. That's absolutely not what we want to do and that we need to do. It would be a disaster. So the cultural diversity principle is implemented in many ways. The promotion of European works. Cultural diversity is based on the fact that all Europeans can have access to all forms of European cultural expression. Circulation of works and artists, very important topic, mobility of artists. When artists move across Europe, they meet other artists and they exchange and they create more and they become more aware of cultural diversity. The role of cities is becoming critical for cultural development. And that's the idea behind this very fancy word, the smart city. Probably you know what a smart city is. It's a city which invests in intellectual or social capital, which promotes sustainable and inclusive growth, quality of life for everybody, and innovation, basically. And behind all these concepts, you find culture. The culture is there to help smart city strategies to be developed. And for me, that's very clear that you can't be a smart city if you don't invest heavily in culture. Creative Europe. It's a support program for creative and cultural and creative industries. The budget over 7 years is 1.5 billion euros, which is 0.02% of the European budget. Agriculture has a budget which is almost 30% of the EU budget. So it's a small budget, but we got an increase by 9% of the budget compared to the previous period. And that was the only program with the education program Erasmus which got such an increase, which is in a way a political message that culture matters. We want, by this program, to address 4 main challenges: the fragmentation of our cultural markets, the digital shift, a problem of access to finance for cultural and creative operators, and the lack of data. We need to have cultural statistics to convince decision makers that it's worth investing in culture.